So you'll see that the tagline on the Invent Penn State banner here is the ingenious power of partnership. And if I had to name the ideal partners in moving central Pennsylvania and the state of Pennsylvania ahead in terms of entrepreneurship, Rachel and Tom would be right at the top of that list. So I will turn it over to you, and you'll have time for questions at the end. Okay?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Takes a while to load our big slide deck. So I'm Tom Sharbaugh and Rachel Herder. We're like a tag team dealing with legal issues. I looked at the agenda earlier in the week, and I saw that we're here in the middle of the afternoon, and I saw the money discussions were in the morning, and I thought we don't have a prayer of keeping you people awake if I give the normal soup to nuts presentation. So our slide deck is this, just this. But this really tells the story. I'm the director of a legal clinic at the law school that provides legal services for a broad range of business services for the startups and early stage companies. And Rachel will talk about what she does, but she does the IP work that I'm not smart enough to do. We're with the law school, but we're really away from the law school. We have our offices downtown at the LaunchBox so that we can be there with the people who need us. And so, we're there all the time. One of the things we decided early on was that we should really buy into the whole Penn State land grant idea and represent companies all over Pennsylvania. So we started off with the idea that would be students, faculty, and staff at Penn State here in University Park, and then maybe in the adjoining counties. But we were using video conferencing anyhow, and we thought we could just do this statewide. And so we went on a campaign. Both of us were with law firms where we had to go and find clients for years, and we did. And so now we have clients from all over, and this map, I'll turn around and point here. We got a lot of work from these dots. So these dots comprise the Penn State innovation hubs are in orange. So all the Penn State Commonwealth campuses and this campus that have launch boxes, they're in orange, and they refer us a lot of work. The green dots are the small business development centers. You just heard from John before us, and there are 17 SBDCs around the state, and so we get a lot of work from them. We also get work from the Ben Franklin Technology Partnerships. They were preceded John. And so a lot of our clients are from Erie and Scranton and Bucknell and all over the place. And what confuses people is they presume we have to be that they have to be affiliated with Penn State in some way, and we always say no. It's anybody. So we have professors from Bucknell and Lehigh and various places here. So one of the things that strikes people as odd is when we tell startup groups that they should go ahead and consult with us early on, because they really don't want to deal with lawyers before they think they have a product. And so we're free, so there's really no harm in talking to us. But it really can be an advantage. And I want to tell you a quick story that some of you will probably recognize that I think illustrates why it's useful to have free legal services for startup companies. So there were two guys, Tyler and Cameron, good preppy names. And Tyler and Cameron had an idea for an app. And so they wanted to develop this app, but they really didn't know how to do it. And so they talked to this student, they were college students, and they talked to this fellow student named Mark. And he was this nerdy guy who did coding work. And so they asked him, will you come and work on our project? we don't have any money to pay you, but we'll give you a percentage of the company. And so Mark toils away on the app, and the two guys, the idea guys, Tyler and Cameron, don't pay much attention to Mark, and Mark gets sort of jilted, and so he decides to start a business on his own. And without telling Tyler and Cameron, he goes off and starts a business and starts developing not the same thing, but pretty close. And then along the way, he doesn't have any money, so he meets this guy named Paul, and Paul says he'll give him $2,000 for 50% of his company. And Mark says, I don't have anything at all, so sure. Okay. Well, things progress, and the company is fabulously successful. And Mark winds up settling litigation with Cameron and Tyler for $65 million. And Paul, the guy who alleged that he was entitled to half of this company, he wound up being indicted and took off for, I think it was Venezuela, to avoid going to jail. Anyhow, does anybody recognize this company? Yeah, Facebook, okay? So, I've been using that example a long time when I teach, but the students, they look at me like, what is social network? They don't know what that is anymore. But anyhow, that shows what we do, because we could have avoided a lot of those problems. And so we do, in the clinic that I'm the director of, we counsel people on choice of entity. Lots of people go on LegalZoom and form a corporation. We generally don't tell them to do that. We say, form an LLC, because you can easily convert to a corporation later on if you want to. We have agreements between and among founders. So when you deal with Tyler, Cameron, and Mark, we could have dealt with that, with people competing and going off on their own. We deal with the equity compensation arrangements. And we also deal with the more routine operational matters like terms of use and privacy statements and things like that. So we don't do, in my clinic, IP, and we're very fortunate. We're one of the few entrepreneurship clinics at any law school in the country that actually has a real IP licensed lawyer to help us out. So with that, here's Rachel.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here. So like Tom, I'm a professor at Penn State Law, the Katz building over there, but my office is also downtown, and I run the intellectual property clinic. So for those of you who aren't familiar with IP, there's 4 main types of IP that startup companies generally interface with: patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. So we're happy to help any early stage company figure out what types of intellectual property they have. And one thing that is often surprising to early stage companies is that their product can be protected by multiple types of intellectual property. So for example, if you think of maybe an EpiPen, okay? An EpiPen, there could be patents on the device. The brand of the EpiPen would be a trademark. Certainly a company like Mylan's not going to let you know a lot of secrets about how they make it. And copyright, there might be copyright related to the blog post or the instructions for use. So we are happy to listen to what your new business is and kind of help direct you on how you can protect your IP. Now, many of you who might be employed by the university, things that you invent while you're working at the university may be owned by the university. Most likely they are. So if you want to commercialize your inventions, you'll have to license your intellectual property, maybe your patents from the university. We can also help you navigate that process, and we can actually represent your company during those licensing negotiations. So with that, I know we're running just a little bit late, but I'll leave the rest of the time for questions.
Questions for Tom and Rachel? So I have one. How in the world do you service that many people with just the two of you?
We're very productive. What I left out was a crucial factor. That is, law schools for many years have had so-called clinics. And law schools are notorious for really not teaching law students how to practice law, but they sort of learn intellectually about law. But there are clinics where for years often they were like legal aid type clinics for people being ejected from apartments and things like that. In recent years, some schools have got into the startup world with respect to legal clinics. So we supervise students, and so we're able to leverage the energy of a number of students. So we have big clinics. These clinics are often 4 or 5 students generally, and so now we've really bit into this. The clinic I have, we have 14 students this semester, and Rachel has 10. So we have like our own law firm we're running, and it's worked out well.
Yeah, and we're also very thankful to the Economic Development Agency because we were able to get a grant, and we also employ each a staff attorney. So,
Other questions?
I spoke to a number of people today, and there are a lot of people who are here that aren't from Pennsylvania. Do people outside of the state, can they use these services too?
No. We had to draw the line somewhere. Like I said, we started off just in this community, and we sort of rippled out from there. But we make such a big push with respect to Pennsylvania and getting funding from Pennsylvania agencies and things like this. Part of the pitch had to be economic development for Pennsylvania.
related to patents, if you go onto the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website, you can find a list of other legal clinics around the country that provide free legal services. So if you're in a different state, you might look for a free legal clinic in your state.
So, last question. How do people find you? Do you prefer walk-ins at the LaunchBox, or is there a website that you direct them to?
We have, we're part of the Happy Valley LaunchBox website. It's a great website with all the resources there, and we are featured prominently there, both clinics, and you can do an online application right there. We do walk-ins as well when people come by. We have students with office hours, and we're there, so we usually don't give much advice on a walk-in basis, but we meet a lot of people there.
And you can find all of our contact info in the handout that's in your folder. It says LaunchBox Legal Clinics at the top.
Yeah,
and it has pictures of us on it.
Yeah, there's a one-page flyer. It's not the first one you'll see in the packet, but it's in there.
And I should mention, the IP clinic unfortunately is unable to take walk-ins.
All right. Any other questions? All right. If not, let's thank Rachel and Tom.
Okay.